Communications in New York.
The body of kidnapped West German industrialist Hans Martin Schleyer has been discovered in a French border town with his throat cut. Terrorists say his death was in retaliation for that commando raid on the West German jet in East Africa. Special Prosecutor Leon Jaworski accuses the Korean government of trying to buy off U.S. businessmen. Jaworski told the first public hearing on the scandal.
In the spring of 1973, representatives of the Korean embassy here, that is in Washington, were told of a plan to buy off, and I'm using these words in quotes, to buy off American congressmen. The plan was explained by the Washington station chief of the Korean Central Intelligence Agency.
The world champion New York Yankees have been honored in a rain-dampered ticker tape parade through the streets of New York. This is Comprehensive News for Mutual Radio. I'm Robert Burns.
WMCA, first on your dial in New York.
It's a hit. The Gin Game. For Jessica Tandy, for Hume Cronin, for director Mike Nichols, the critics dealt a full house of raves. Richard Eder in The Times hailed The Gin Game as a notable and moving play. The performances of Tandy and Cronin and the seamless direction of Mike Nichols are mesmerizing. Clive Barnes on WQXR acclaimed Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin as wonderful, luminous actors. The play, fascinating. Nichols has achieved one of the ultimate successes of a director. Rex Reed in the Daily News wrote, there are 3 stars at work, Tandy, Cronin, and Nichols, and they rise to the challenge in spades. The Gin Game is Mike Nichols' latest hit, a wry, fascinating evening. Bob Lape on Channel 7 called The Gin Game funny, profane, eloquent, stunning, touching, and beautiful. And Pat Collins on Channel 2 gave it a 10. Exquisite performances in a human and funny play. On Channel 5, Stuart Klein said The Gin Game by D.L. Coburn is the eternal war of the sexes. Magnificent theater as well as hilarious comedy. The Gin Game at the Golden Theater on West 45th Street. You can't lose.
The World Series began in 1903. That's when the American League and the National League met. There's been a World Series every year thereafter. There have been many, many great moments. In the 74-year history of the World Series, there never was a more dramatic, exciting, successful game played by any other individual than the game last night played by Reginald Martinez Jackson of the Yankees as he led the Bronx Bombers, and last night they were Bronx Bombers, to their 21st World Championship, their first in the past 15 years, as they beat the Dodgers 8-4.
Jackson walked on 4 pitches his last time up there. There's a drive to right field and deep. Smith going back, away back. It's gone. A home run, Reggie Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Sterling, and boy, do we have things to talk about. It's 5 minutes after 7. We'll be here till 10 o'clock. We have a full program, and boy, things really do work out well at times. Tonight we have a full program, and do we ever need 3 hours to talk about, I guess, the most exciting World Series game that I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of World Series games. But sometimes an individual's accomplishment transcends the game. I think that happened last night. for many, many reasons. We have, of course, 3 hours to talk football, to talk basketball, which has begun. Hockey has begun. Baseball, at least the season is over. A lot of baseball, as you know, never goes to sleep. Baseball goes on and on and on. I don't know if you heard the post-game program I had last night with Mel, but we were on the air till 12:30. We did an hour and a half. And boy, if I tell you who my guests were at Yankee Stadium, it would read like a who's who. First of all, the general managing partner of the Yankees, George Steinbrenner, his president, Gabe Paul, the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn, the assistant to the American League president, Bob Fischel, the gentleman who brought National League Baseball back to New York and who, in his own lifetime, has a stadium named after him, Mr. William Bill Shea, probably America's most talented, recognized, trained singing voice, the Metropolitan Opera's Robert Merrill, one of the leading society orchestra conductors, leaders in the world, Peter Duchin, and on and on. I'm going to leave out a lot of names that I've forgotten, but the thing I remember most, when I had George Steinbrenner on the air, and Mel Allen was talking on the air at this point to Gabe Paul, and off mic, George Steinbrenner said to me, he said, "John, you know, I was downstairs, and so I ran to a TV guy, and he said to me, George, he said, you know, if I decided to write a Hollywood script that would follow exactly the dramatics of this ball game, they'd throw it right out, and they'd say no one would believe it." Think of it. There has never been an athletic organization who were embroiled in as much turmoil and controversy as the New York Yankees. It began in spring training. It lasted for 7 months. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 8 months. There never was a surcease of controversy from the first day to the last day. Most teammates openly disliked and didn't talk to Reggie Jackson at times. The two biggest stars of the team, Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson, disliked each other publicly. Everyone had a run-in with the manager, Billy Martin. Player after player asked to be traded or sold or leave the team. Martin and Jackson almost had a fight in the dugout in Boston in a big game on national television. This is in front of everybody. Goodness knows what went on behind people's backs. Players were popping off a mile a minute. Billy Martin was almost fired 1, 2, 3 times. The word is Dick Hauser, a third base coach, had accepted the job, he would have been fired. The Yankees, supposed to run away with it, were 5 games behind a very strong Boston team. Not once, but twice. In the middle of August, the most celebrated figure of the team, Reggie Jackson, was put in the cleanup spot. He powered the Yankees on their way to the American League pennant. The Yankees survived with Don Gullett on the disabled list a couple of times, with Catfish Hunter practically not pitching all year, with Ken Holtzman not pitching all year. And they won the pennant on the penultimate day of the American League pennant race by 1 game. Before they began the American League championships against Kansas City, Billy Martin stated that he wanted his contract renegotiated. He wanted it extended. He wanted more money. People thought Martin had a death wish. He wanted to be fired. Other people, and people in the game, told me Billy Martin's going to go to the California Angels. Gene Autry, the cowboy, is in love with Billy Martin. The Yankees fell behind Kansas City 2-1 in a best-of-5 series. They had to win 2 games in Kansas City. They hadn't won 2 games in Kansas City in 2 years. They evened the playoffs, and then Billy Martin as a coup de grace for the season, benched Reggie Jackson for the 5th and final game. And the Yankees fell behind by 3 runs. They were down by 1 run going into the 9th inning, and Reggie Jackson had pinch hit a run in. Show a little class coming off the bench. The Yankees are 3 outs away from their most disappointing loss. But somehow they rallied and scored 3 runs and won the game and won the American League Championship, went off to the World Series, but the controversy didn't stop. In the World Series, the Yankees continue to act like the Katzenjammer kids. Mike Torres and Mickey Rivers and Roy White wanted to be traded or signed with another team. Reggie Jackson said he won't be back, then he will be back. Catfish understarted the game, and Jackson knocked Martin's selection. Ed Figueroa wanted to pitch, and when he didn't, he wanted to jump the team, go home to Puerto Rico. I mean, it went on and on and on and on and on. How did it end? I'll tell you how it ended. It ended last night. The turmoil, this contention, this controversy, these arguments ended in the most dramatic fashion, as before the eyes of the nation and the world, before a sellout crowded magnificent new Yankee Stadium, Steve Garvey tripled 2 runs home for the Dodgers in the 1st inning, and the Yankees are about to blow the 6th game and have the series go down to 1 game. But in the last of the 1st inning, or rather in the last of the 2nd inning, Chris Chambliss came to bat with a man on. Chris Chambliss had done nothing all series and very little in the playoffs. But the fans, and I guess his own teammates, remembered Chambliss' dramatic home run that won the American League pennant last year. So with a man on base and the Yankees losing 2-0, much of the same was forthcoming.
2-1 pitch to Chambliss. A drive to right center field and deep. Way back, going. A home run for Chris Chambliss, and we're tied 2-2.
The Dodgers scored a run on Reggie Smith's titanic home run. Boy, I have to laugh at scouting reports, because I know the scouting report said throw Smith breaking stuff and change-ups and off-speed pitches when he bats left-handed. That's how you pitch Reggie Smith. Mike Torres threw him a fastball down the gut, and Smith hit it about 400 feet in the right field bleachers. However, with the score of 3-2, the Yankees got a guy on base, and Reggie Jackson came up. Now, Reggie had walked in front of Chambliss' home run in the 2nd inning. Reggie had homered on his last at bat in Los Angeles on Sunday. And then he came to bat in, I believe, the last of the 4th inning with the man on base.
Reggie gets ready. Sosa again, a flip over to first base, and Randolph back. 2 out, a runner at first for New York in the bottom of the 5th. The Yankees 5, the Dodgers 3. When the Dodgers hit in the 6th, they'll send up Ron Say, Steve Garvey, and Dusty Baker. Sosa set. The pitch. Drive to right field and deep. Way back, going, gone. Another home run for Reggie Jackson. And the Yankees lead 7-3.
Well, of course, that was Jackson's 2nd home run. We're still trying to find his 3rd home run. I'd like to get my hands on the people who lost his 3rd home run. I'd strangle him. I swear to goodness I'd strangle him. I'd strangle him and strangle him. I'd love to get that home run. I guess I have to recreate that myself. The Yankees had the game put away. They're leading 7-3 in the 8th inning, and Jackson came up. He had hit 2 home runs on successive pitches. Charlie Huff, the knuckleballer, was in. His knuckleball was dancing around. He fanned Thurman Munson, and Steve Yeager couldn't handle it in the 7th inning, and Yeager had a peg to first base to force Munson there to end the 7th inning. In the last of the 8th, Reggie came up leading off. The only time in big league history the only time in big league history 3 home runs were hit in a World Series game. In 1926 by Babe Ruth in St. Louis against the Cardinals, in 1928 in the same place against the same team. Babe Ruth had never hit 3 home runs consecutively in the same game. He had done something in between. Wouldn't it be great if I could play that tape now? Oh, my. In the last of the 8th inning, Jackson came up. And on the first pitch, Huff threw a knuckleball that kind of wiggled low and outside. And Jackson, with that short, compact swing, hit the ball solidly. And he hit the ball to dead center field. Oh, maybe a little right of dead center. And he hit the ball at least halfway back in that black area, over the inner fence, over the center field bleacher wall, and into that area painted black for the batter's protection, the batter's eye. That ball had to go 450, 475 feet for his 3rd home run. And I thought that was the most dramatic moment I've ever seen, and the game had been put away. But you talk about a guy having guts. I mean, here's a guy who's been in the center of the maelstrom of controversy swirling around the Yankee heads and shoulders for 8 months. And what proved to be the final game of the series, he hits 3 home runs on 3 straight pitches. I'll tell you something. The greatest home run hitters in history, Babe Ruth, Harmon Killebrew, Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams, Henry Aaron, whatever, they've averaged maybe 1 homer every 10, 11, 12 times at bat. Think of this year, George Foster hit over 50 home runs. That's never done. I mean, the National League has been done 6 times. And George Foster has to get bat about 600 times. It's about a homer every 12 times at bat. Reggie Jackson hit 4 homers in 4 charge times at bat. He hit 4 homers in 5 at bats, including his walk on 4 straight pitches in the 2nd inning. He hit 3 homers on 3 pitches, and he did it in a World Series game. Now, I think Jackson is full of bull, but you can't disregard his talent. You can't disregard his guts. You can't disregard his ability. And to come through like that with the pressures and the press and the media and the arguments and the battles and it's as big a moment and as good a game as anyone's ever played in World Series history. And I was so glad I was there last night. I told someone the other day that Jackson was a great ball player. I mean, he came through this year with 32 home runs, 110 RBIs for the Yanks. It's just that there's so many people willing to listen to Reggie talk, and Reggie's the kind of guy, I said, that will spend 30 minutes telling you how he's not going to talk. But you can't ignore his talent. And if you try to explain it away or whatever, you're a hypocrite. Now, Billy Martin. I want to get to Billy Martin. The Minnesota Twins were in the American League Championship in 1965. It was their first success since the 30s when they were the Washington Senators. As quickly as they went up, they went down. They were a terrible team. And Billy Martin took over in the first year of divisional play in 1969, I believe. Now listen to the years in sequence, okay? In 1969, Billy Martin platooned his team and won the American League Western Division pennant. At the end of that year, he was fired for arguing with the front office. He spent 1970 out of baseball. In 71, he returned to manage the Detroit Tigers with an old, decaying ball club that had never made it to the top, even though they had 8 pretty good regulars. And they had been there for a long time. Martin finished second to the power-laden Baltimore Orioles in 71. Second, mind you, out of 6 teams. In 73, he won a pennant by platooning at just about every position. In the middle of 74, he was fired for his battles with the front office. In 75, he went to the Texas Rangers, who also were the new Washington Senators, and they had never been anywhere but the bottom rung in their division. And with a poor ball club, he finished second in 75. In the middle of 76, he was fired for, again, arguing with the front office. I think he told the president of the team, Brad Corbett, where to go. and he was hired by the Yankees. At the end of 75, second half of 75. He's been with the Yankees 2 years. He's won the American League Eastern Division twice, the American League pennant twice, and now he's won the World Series. And if you don't think Billy Martin isn't a great manager, then you know nothing about baseball. Well, I don't know about all the rest of the bull because I don't travel with the Yankees. And I could repeat a lot of things, but I don't think I will. You know, because I'm not privy, and they are secondhand. But I'm just talking about managing ball club. You don't think Billy Martin... I had to laugh when people call me up and second-guess Martin. You don't think Martin's a great manager, then you don't know anything about baseball. It's 21 minutes after 7. There are a lot of things we could talk about, but I felt it would be kind of silly to talk about the Nets or Islanders, Knicks or Rangers, the Giants or Jets on the night after that excitement. That's the most dramatic thing I've ever seen. Don't forget, I did the play-by-play when the Nets won the ABA championship and they came from 22 points down in the third quarter to win. I thought that was a pretty good night, too. But last night, Reggie Jackson just did something that just is not done in baseball. And the thing is, the first 2 home runs were line drives down the right field line. The third home run was as good a shot as you'll ever see if you go to 1,000 baseball games. I'm going to begin to take your phone calls shortly at area code 212-489-1155. We'll return right after this.
Last December, one candidate for governor said that anyone who calls for the repeal of the income tax without an adequate revenue replacement plan should be written off as a demagogue. Do you know who said that? Ray Bateman. Today, Ray Bateman is the Republican candidate for governor. Today, Ray Bateman opposes the income tax, but he has avoided telling us exactly where he'll get the revenues we need to run our schools and local governments. He'll stop the property tax rebates that benefit homeowners and tenants. He'll raise the sales tax to 6 cents, but that will still leave the state hundreds of millions of dollars short, and he hasn't told us where he'll get the rest of the money. Ray Bateman, by his own words, has told the people of New Jersey to write him off as a responsible candidate because Ray Bateman hasn't told us the things we have a right to know. The people of New Jersey deserve honest answers to the tax question, not political rhetoric. Isn't it time Ray Bateman leveled with us?
Paid for by Byrne for Governor Committee.
If you're like most retailers, you want an alternative to runaway adflation. Radio is the sound alternative, so retailers use a lot more radio. Joseph Rowan, National Retail Merchants Association, reports,
Our latest NRMA media survey shows a sharp increase in the percent of stores on radio. Now, some 92% of retailers are radio advertisers, and almost half are on radio 52 weeks a year.
For sound ideas, call this station, furnished by Radio Advertising Bureau.
Before we go on with your phone calls, we do want to congratulate the Yanks. I thought we might have George Steinbrenner on the line. George, after the reception today, I don't know where he is, but we do have on the head of public relations for the Yanks to accept the congratulations from the Strauss family who owns WMCA. Here is Marshall Samuels. And you must be a very, very happy man. You came with the Yanks this year. You've been with Mr. Steinbrenner a long time, and you saw one of the most exciting finishes to one of the most controversial baseball seasons ever in baseball history.
Well, you're certainly right about that. It tops anything in my 31 years experience. I've had some fun and tight seasons, but this beats them all.
Well, that's just, it's just something, and last night really was a happening. It was a World's Championship, but the Yanks have had quite a few of those. Yanks have never had a season like this before, though. I mean,
no.
I'll tell you what I think. I know that everyone would like things a lot calmer around the team. There's an old adage in show business. It doesn't matter what they say, it's do they spell your name right? And boy, the Yankees are on the front pages of every sports page, drew 2 million at home, 2 million on the road, probably 1 million more in postseason games, and it couldn't have been a wilder, better, greater year for baseball. In fact, after the game last night, we had Bowie Kuhn on our show from the Yankee offices, and I made the point that this was baseball's man of year. It was a great year for baseball.
Well, it certainly was. They broke all attendance records, as everybody knows by now, by some 20%. So from the standpoint of that, it was a fabulous year. And, of course, you're quite right about the old adage of never mind what they say about me as long as they spell my name right. But I'm not one of those kind of people. I don't like to create controversy just because I know that it has gate appeal. You get into personalities which are better left undone, in my opinion. But they do have that byproduct that makes, well, it's sort of a relieving feature of it anyway.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Samuels, we just wanted to formally extend congratulations from the Strauss family, from Dennis Israel, General Manager, Mark Mason, Program Director, and, of course, obviously from me. And it was a kick. It was a boot. And we'll look forward to doing it all again next year.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to being with you again.
Fine.
Thank you so much, John, on behalf of George Steinbrenner and Gabe Paul and Billy and the rest of us.
Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
It's 25 minutes after 7. We'll get back with more right after this.
Now there's a whole new way to drive any fine 1978 GM car from Potemkin at a fantastic low monthly price. Like a Monte Carlo for $78.50 a month, a Pontiac Grand Prix LJ $89 a month, or a four-door Chevette for $37.90 a month. And they're all equipped with the most wanted features and power accessories. Sound incredible? Well, Potemkin's unique computerized auto vest system lets you lease these and other great GM cars by giving you the exact equipment, color, and model available, and even computes and deducts your car's future value to arrive at your monthly charge. And at the end of 24 months, you can trade in, keep the car at a predetermined price, or just walk away. All prices are based on a 24-month closed-end lease with a $1,500 trade-in or non-refundable down payment. No security deposit needed. Check out the Potemkin Auto Vest lease plan at Potemkin, 11th Avenue and 54th Street, or call 212-581-1700.
WMCA, Real People Radio.
Here's some advice from WMCA Call for Action. To find out how to dispose of an old car legally, call your local Department of Sanitation. Don't just abandon it in the street.
WMCA, Real People Radio.
Omega, Starfire, Cutlass Supreme, Cutlass Salon, 8893, Tornado, low prices, top service. If these words make your heart beat faster, you have but one choice. Hi-ho to Dario, New Jersey's leading Oldsmobile dealer. Dario Oldsmobile, Bloomfield Avenue in West Caldwell. They have all the new and beautiful 78 Oldsmobiles, and you can see them in their equally beautiful showroom. They're easy to reach, they have the best service available, and they'll beat any other dealer's price. So, hi-ho to Dario, where the prices are low and you'll feel like $1 million without spending more than you have to. Dario Oldsmobile, 1155 Bloomfield Avenue, West Caldwell. Call 201-227-3880. 28 minutes after 7, WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello? Yes, I'm glad that the Yankees won.
Good. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I want to talk to you about Howard Cosell, but I want to take the other side. I want to come to his defense because I think he's been getting a bad rap.
Right.
And I was jotting down a few things while I was waiting for you to get done with your very interesting little talk, and here's what I came up with. I think the criticism of Cosell falls into one of four categories. It comes from one of four places. The first place I think it comes from is from these, what I call these once-a-year fans who don't know a baseball from a football, but all of a sudden around World Series time, they suddenly become into baseball because it's the in thing. They go around during the year, you tell them you're going to go to a baseball game, they look at you like you're crazy. What do you want to go to a baseball game for? But around World Series time, suddenly, they're there in the box seats and the crew fan is out watching the game on the television. And I think, they listen, you pick up the paper and you read a headline, Ms. Lillian doesn't like Howard Cosell, or I turn on the radio this afternoon and Alex Bennett says, I don't like Howard Cosell, a man who hasn't been to a baseball game in 10 years. So I think that, that's the first point. Those people are on Cosell. The second people...
Sir, time.
Go ahead.
Time. We have 30 seconds before the news.
They held up?
No, not on this subject. I'm glad you like Howard. He's a hell of a guy, makes tremendous money. He's a great figure. He has a great act. He knows what he's doing. He's doing it very well. And I think this defense sounds kind of silly, you know. I think what you ought to do...
I'm not trying to defend him, but...
No, it is not defend him. You don't have to defend him. He has an act. He has a style.
I'm sure you know...
This guy actually didn't hear me. He didn't really... I was gently easing him off. He didn't want to take it. He wants to be cut off. Sir, what I'm saying is, it's not the show. You know, this isn't the show. Write him a letter, okay? I appreciate what you say. He's doing very well. Thank you. Write him a letter. Thank you, sir. 7:30 at WMCA Strauss Communications in New York. Real People Radio will be back right after the news.
The body of kidnapped West German businessman Hans Martin Schleyer, his throat slashed, has been found in the trunk of a car near the French-German border. Correspondent Jeremy Clift reports the body was found after a call to a French newspaper.
The message to Liberation from a member of the Red Army faction said, after 43 days, we have put an end to the miserable and corrupt existence of Hans Martin Schleyer. We shall never forget the blood spilled by Chancellor Schmidt and the imperialists who support him. The fight is only beginning.
The House has rejected the so-called cargo preference bill. The measure would have required that a percentage of oil imports be carried on U.S. flag vessels. The Senate approves a compromise bill that would increase the minimum hourly wage to $3.35 an hour by 1981. This is Comprehensive News from Mutual Radio. I'm Peter Mayer.
Right now, it's time to think about where to go for a fall oil change and lube job.
Don't you know there's good news round the corner? Goodyear, wherever you are.
Goodyear has the no-hassle way to help you. Get a Goodyear oil change and lube job for only $5.88 at your local Goodyear service store. It includes up to 5 quarts of major brand 10W30 grade oil. So get ready for colder weather with a Goodyear oil change and lube job. Just $5.88.
Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more Goodyears in your car.
Here's how to quickly and efficiently complete many do-it-yourself projects without getting down to brass tacks. I, Pat Summerall for True Value Hardware Stores, to suggest the Swingline Heavy-Duty Staple Gun. It's the October tool of the month for just $4.99. It drives 5 staple sizes to help you install insulation, upholster furniture, repair screens, and complete many other home projects. Get the Swingline Staple Gun for just $4.99 while supplies last at participating True Value Hardware Stores.
House Ethics Committee Chief Investigator Leon Jaworski tells the panel the South Korean government ordered a 1973 plan to buy off congressmen. And Jaworski says the scheme was organized by the Korean Central Intelligence Agency. Representative Millicent Fenwick is a member of the Ethics Committee.
I expect that the public and the press will see the base of the Korean involvement in this country, the effort to influence members of Congress.
Fenwick is a New Jersey Republican. Attorney General Griffin Bell says United Nations Ambassador Andrew Young has been cleared of allegations he wrote a letter on behalf of a convicted pornography dealer in return for contributions to the Carter campaign. At the UN, Ambassador Young tells Mutual News,
I think that the Attorney General really has spoken for me in saying that they've been able to find absolutely nothing on those allegations.
Imprisoned former Attorney General John Mitchell has filed an urgent plea for executive clemency. Mitchell says he needs hip surgery. A birthday at the White House. Amy Carter is 10 years old today, and her proud daddy, the president, talks about the gift he and the First Lady are giving their daughter.
Amy has never lived
in the White House
where there was snow before.
Oh.
And if you want, this is deadline until after supper tonight, but Amy's going to get a sled.
Oh, what?
She was heartbroken this week to learn that we've already had 4 inches of snow at Camp David, and she's been really looking forward to snow.
14 of Amy's friends were treated to a Halloween-style birthday party at the White House this evening. Among other things, they watched the movie Frankenstein. You're listening to Mutual News.
The great Armour hot dog controversy. Is the dog kids love to bite just for kids?
Dixon Moorhead here, stockbroker. Sure, kids love Armour hot dogs. No cereals, no fillers, just good, delicious meat. But what about us big boys? We love the juicy flavor of Armour hot dogs as much as any kid. Armour hot dogs. The dog stockbrokers love to bite.
Reach for quality. Reach for the stars. Armour.
Looking Econocar, the real bargain in rent-a-cars. Econocar has bargains for weekends, bargains for weekdays, bargains for when your car is in the shop. Econocar has rent-a-car bargains for visiting relatives and bargains for when your son claims the family limousine. Whenever you're stuck without a car, don't get stuck renting one. Call Econocar and drive a real bargain for a change. For Econocar reservations, call toll-free 800-228-1000. That's 800-228-1000.
489-1155 WMCA.
We're back at 489-1155. By the way, later this evening, the player personnel director of the Oakland Raiders, Al Locasale, will be on with us, and we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders and their game this Sunday against the Jets and their huge loss, disappointing, unexpected loss to Denver in Oakland last Sunday. That'll be a bit later on in the program. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello. Yes, sir. How you doing?
All right. I enjoy, your program, and I enjoyed listening to you, Mel Allen, last night, and all the other guests coming home from the ballpark. Well, just one question. What stands in the way of Yankee fans having more of Mel Allen?
Well.
John?
I don't know how to answer that question. I'm
become
sorry.
more visible the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, the speculation, he probably, fell out of favor with the previous regime, which fell out of favor with the Yankee fans, too.
Sure.
But not that, I don't mean in terms of announcer or replacing everyone, but the money that, they throw around there, how much he adds, how much enthusiasm he generates.
Sure.
Even the years when he broadcast the games, the excitement he creates.
The interesting thing about it all is that
Moose Gallons, the Spec Shays, everyone had a name, excitement. Even when they were losing, you felt you wanted to get out there.
Sorry, that's one of the tough things doing a talk show. I can't comment on those things. I have no idea. You have to ask the Yankees or Mel or whoever. Okay?
And may I just make one other statement, John? I happened to beat the ball game last night, a lot of other games. And I'm not saying I condone, what went on.
Neither do I.
We were all fired up by the scoreboard, repeating, once again and clapping. We didn't need anyone, to tell us to hoot and holler and what have you. But if you're going to sell beer like they do, you got to expect some little excitement.
Well, I think that's fine. I think people who throw things or people who run on the field should receive the full extent of the law till they don't do it. And I also think that people who throw things should be pointed out by other fans. I think they're hoodlums. I think they're bums. I think they're slobs. I think they're crazy. And I hold nothing for them at all. If they can't hold beer, they shouldn't drink it. I don't think that's an excuse at all. And by the way, there were 56,407 people there last night. And so I believe that 56,000 people, no matter how much beer they drank, were there to see the game and to cheer and enjoy themselves and would never do anything wrong. And I think then the 400, and how classy a term for those animals, the 400, I think should be thrown in a cave with lions. Thank you, sir. 489-1155 WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
John.
Sir.
First of all, I'd like to compliment you on the show. I think it's very good.
Okay, thank you, sir. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
John.
Yes, sir.
How are you this evening?
Fine, how are you?
Not bad at all. I called originally to talk about George Steinbrenner, but before I do, the gentleman that you just had on the phone, I think it was a little bit of an inane comment when he says drink beer. I was at the game last night. I'm 34 years old. I had about 9 beers. I didn't run on the field and kill anybody after the game. I think if you're an adult and you're mature, you're going to behave that way, even if you get a little happy after the game. I think the same people that do that are going to be the people that go out and do a lot of other crazy things.
Oh, yeah, those are just aimless excuses. That's like seeing...
They're looking to not having... That's their excuse.
That's like seeing a movie on violence and then going out and killing someone, or it's like seeing an X-rated movie and then going out and raping some girl.
Exactly.
There's ain't no excuse.
Exactly.
But if it affects you that way, you should be put in a home. Your shoelaces should be removed, and you should be there, with four padded walls.
And a purple crayon.
Yes.
John, let me
Dull
ask
crayon.
you a question. I've been having a discussion with a couple of my friends for some time, and we're at loggerheads over a point. I really like your opinion on it. I say that's a lot of hogwash when they talk about the fact that George Steinbrenner has the best team that money can buy. There's 5 or 6 owners that have more money than George Steinbrenner has. I would rather give Mr. Steinbrenner credit for spending his money on the right people.
But first of all, under the Steinbrenner aegis, Gabe Paul has traded. I've done this so many times. In fact, I did it on the air last night in front of Gabe and George in the Yankee offices. I mean, if I have to go through it again, I will. It's just a knock because most people aren't happy about their neighbor doing well, and so they knock. The free agent rule is now in effect. Since it is in effect, you play by those rules. By the way, there are many owners who probably have more money than George Steinbrenner. Now,
I was just pretty sure about that.
Oh, okay, but there also were owners who signed more free agents. For example, the California Angels signed 3 free agents. The Yankees have only signed 3. Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, and Don Gullett. Those are the only 3 they've signed. All the others they've acquired in trades. They traded for Bucky Dent. They traded for Chris Chambliss. They traded for Greg Nettles. They traded for Willie Randolph. They traded for Fran Healy. They traded for Cliff Johnson. They traded for Mike Torres. They traded for Ken Holtzman. They traded for Lou Piniella. I mean, they traded for all these guys. So they traded for Mickey Rivers. We shouldn't leave Mickey out. Gabe. I know, but what I'm saying is Gabe Paul made those trades. So if it's a question of just buying free agents, then how come that Don Baylor and Joe Rudy and Bobby Grich, or San Diego with Gene Tennis and Rolly Fingers, how come they lost?
Amen.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
489-1155, your calls, WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John.
Yes, sir.
I'm just like to close out yesterday's ball game. I'd like to say I'm very happy over the victory. And secondly, I'm just wondering, do you really think that Gabe Paul and George Steinbrenner can keep this ball club together for next year? With all the bickering going on and everything?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if they could survive this year, they could survive any year. We're going to return with more of your calls right after this. The greatest martial arts event in all the world. Aaron Banks' Oriental World of Self-Defense on the great Radio City Music Hall stage. One performance only, 2 p.m. Sunday, October 30th. Death-defying feats never before seen. Masters in action in Kung Fu, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, Ninjutsu, Aikido, and Samurai swords. Plus, the 1977 United Nations Invitational Men's and Women's Karate Championship. Tickets still available at Radio City Music Hall box office, by phone, or all Ticketron outlets. Major credit cards honored.
Torres has pitched a 9-hitter, stretches, deals. Bunt, popped up. Torres has got it, and the Yankees are the world champions for the 21st time, and for the first time in 15 years.
We never doubted they could do it, and now the whole world knows that our own New York Yankees are the world's greatest. WMCA and New York thanks George Steinbrenner and all the Yankees for bringing the trophy back where it belongs.
To Mexico City any afternoon and arrive in plenty of time to dance, dine, or get a good night's sleep before business or sightseeing the next day. Or continue on to the sun and fun of Acapulco. On weekends, Aeromexico offers convenient morning departures to Mexico City and Acapulco. Whatever time you fly, you enjoy Aeromexico's famed margarita service. Complimentary margaritas, cocktails, fine wines, sparkling champagnes, Mexican and continental cuisine, and traditional hospitality. Take an Aeromexico terrific quality approved tour. One-week visits to Mexico City, Tasco, and Acapulco start at $269. With a peso devaluation, that's where your savings start. See your travel agent or call Aeromexico, the airline of Mexico. 489-1155, your phone calls. We'll be here until 10. No, I never was in my office. So actually, if you get a key and go in my office, maybe they'll be there. Hope to find the tapes there. Could be. Could be. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
John?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your show last night. I fell asleep. It was like a lullaby on it. It was fantastic. It was one of the greatest things that I've listened to in a long time.
Thank you. You know what that was? I'm very, very proud of it.
That's what it was.
Well, that was live radio. That's what radio can do that no other medium can do. That was a live radio thing, like it probably was done in the 30s or 40s, you know, when celebs dropped into Barry Gray's interview area in Chandler's. Hal Brown is my engineer now in this hour, and he was there when celebs would drop. You know, Barry Gray told me he never booked guests during those halcyon days, 48, 49, or 50, whenever it was. And people would just be dropping in because New York was a late city. Well, of course, New York is not a late-night city. There isn't any place where celebs go. And last night, you know, we were in the Yankee offices down this hallway, and the party was going on in George Steinbrenner's office, and Mel and I go in to find out who was there, and people would just drop by and come on the air with us, and I loved it. I have to admit I loved it, and I'll tell you something else. I felt like I was at a party. You know, I was drinking champagne. It was a great party. It was a great high, you know, a natural high with all those dramatics that got on.
The thing is, there was an article in the Post today by a fellow named Larry Schwartz, who I've never heard of before. And he talked about the memories and how people didn't appreciate what they had back in the early 60s with the Yankees. And I'm one of those people. I was a young fan then. I think I first realized baseball about 1956 when the World Series was on. And it was just so unbelievable that it brought back, it actually removed 15 years, you know, and it brought you back to the time when the Yankees were really, you know, were it every year, and it didn't matter if they won a particular game. If Mickey Mantle hit a home run, it made the game a success. It was the kind of thing, this whole year was culminated in a game last night that was so unbelievable. It was so interesting. It was so profound. Nobody has said yet that Reggie Jackson is a money ball player, but that's it. He is a money baseball player. When the money's on the line, I take him over anybody.
Yeah. No question about it. And what made last night, that's why George Steinbrenner said that no one would believe this script. Here is a guy.
Nobody would.
Here is a guy who, and this is partially from himself, the kind of guy he is, the kind of teammates he has, the kind of climate that we're now in, I mean, that, you know, for those who don't know anything about baseball and have just become fans, which is okay, this never went on. These Yankees have nothing at all to do. They just happen to wear the interlocked NY and the pinstripes. These Yankees aren't anything like the old Yankees. You never heard this kind of stuff. Can you imagine, as I said in the air the other day, you know, talking just about Figueroa, can you imagine, name me a pitcher, Tom Sturtevant going to Stengel in 58 or so, saying, the hell with you. You're not going to pitch me, I'm going home. Going home, they would have taken him and dropped him off the Empire State Building. Stay home is right. Hal Brown says stay home. He wouldn't. Can you imagine a Yankee doing that? So this year was total bananas. I mean, the circus is in town. I happen to think, by the way, what George and Gabe and Billy Martin have done, I think it's fabulous.
So do I.
With these Yankees, man, it's show business every day. And now it culminates. Here's the guy, as I said, maybe a bit too dramatically, who was in the center of the maelstrom of controversy swirling about the Yanks every day. And what does he do? He hits 3 homers on successive pitches in the World Series games. I mean, you know, there are people out there, not you and not most of my listeners, but you know there are people who only become fans of World Series time who go home and say, yeah, well, he's a slugger, isn't he? He hits home runs and he's a slugger. They don't know that a slugger could go a month without hitting a home run. And the greatest sluggers in the game have gone a month without hitting a home run. But as a baseball fan, you know what it took for the guy in the middle of the controversy to hit 3 homers on 3 pitches in the final game. Isn't that unbelievable?
Absolutely.
And the final one going where you haven't seen many home runs in your lifetime go, right?
I think the second one was the most unbelievable shot because it never got more than about 9 feet off the ground. And it went straight out there.
That's right, and it was on his hands.
Yeah.
He had to jerk it around. It was just amazing.
Can I say one other thing, though? We've heard a lot from people saying, look what the Kansas City Royals have, look what the Dodgers have, and they didn't invest in the free agent market. But what people don't realize about that is that the free agent situation has been here for 1 year. And basically the Dodgers and the people like the Kansas City Royals had very, very solid teams to start with. They had solid teams just like the Yankees had solid teams. Now, teams like St. Louis didn't invest in the free agent market. Teams, other teams, the Tigers, for instance. But those are teams that are either going to have to do it or they're going to stay, somewhere in the middle of the league.
But those are the rules. But those are the rules that you bid on free agents.
I wish the Mets would do it because
George didn't put in those rules.
Where we'd be back in the 50s arguing who's better, the Mets or the Yankees. It would be wonderful.
Listen, let me tell you about Gabe Ball and George Steinbrenner. I told this to their faces last night. I got to town 5.5 years ago, but 6 baseball years ago. I got here just in time for the beginning of the 72 season. Yankee Stadium was old and empty, and the Yankees, and I'll tell you why I remember this, because they used to play 7:30 games, and I was on till 10, and I used to leave the station. And I always used to have to rush back to fill in at 10 minutes of, a quarter of. They never played a long game. They never scored any runs.
Right.
And then had bad pitching with Fritz and Mel Stottlemyre and all, but they never scored any runs, and they were a dull, unexciting, boring team. And boy, there are many things now, but those aren't the adjectives, dull, unexciting, and boring. They're wild and crazy, and that's all been built up since George Steinbrenner put his money where his mouth is, and Gabe Ball made all those fabulous deals.
Well, people hate George Steinbrenner for the same reason they hated Joe Namath. Joe Namath was loud. He was obnoxious to people, but he said he was going to win the Super Bowl, and he did. And Steinbrenner said he was going to go out and get a team, and he did. And that's what's important.
You know what, though, as we've said so often on this program, of course it's all part of life. Sports is just a microcosm of life, and the same people who knocked Mr. Steinbrenner for going out and building and buying and searching and grabbing the world by the tail and giving it a shake are the same people who knocked the Mets for not doing it. So those people are never happy and will never be happy, and they're negative people. And you find a lot of negative people in life. Doesn't surprise me. Thank you, sir. We are at 489-1155. It's 9 minutes before 8 o'clock. Omega, Starfire, Cutlass Supreme, Cutlass Salon, 88, 93, Tornado, low prices, top service. If these words make your heart beat faster, you have but one choice. Hi-ho to Dario, New Jersey's leading Oldsmobile dealer. Dario Olds, Bloomfield Avenue in West Caldwell. They have all the new and beautiful 78 Oldsmobiles, and you can see them in their equally beautiful showroom. They're easy to reach. They have the best service available, and they'll beat any other dealer's price. So, hi-ho to Dario, where the prices are low and you'll feel like $1 million without spending more than you have to. Dario Olds at 1155 Bloomfield Avenue in West Caldwell. Their phone number is 201-227-3880. 489-1155. We'll get back after this.
The name game is coming.
All righty, 8 minutes before the hour. And WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Yes, John. I know you're probably going to call me a jerk or disagree with me, but I'd like to say what I feel, if you don't mind. I am not a negative person, but I think this is not a banner year for baseball. I think it's a shameful year. I think it's not exciting. I think that the fact that the guy did, in fact, buy the pennant and the series, and would probably do so if he lost, is not as exciting as the great teams and years that you and Mel talked about. Not as exciting to me, because I know if they didn't win it this year, they'll buy 5 or 6 free agents again, and they'll probably win it. I think that it's naive of the fans to forget that the very thing they were complaining about, and I think you were on the show earlier, the show business circus atmosphere, why can't we get back to baseball? Now all of a sudden everybody likes it. Now all of a sudden Reggie Jackson is a hero, the very same person they were booing and spitting on and wrecking his car. I think it's idiotic. I think it's phony. And I also feel that the people in Baltimore have a legitimate gripe when, and in other cities where the owner of the team must depend on the team to be a sole income. I'm not saying this is true of other cities like St. Louis, of course, and Wrigley, but I mean, in some cities where it's truly a business, it's not fair, and I can't expect those owners to compete. I think it's a shameful year for baseball. I don't blame Steinbrenner at all for doing what he did in one respect, although I feel that he's a little bit of an egomaniac and only wants to win by getting all the players, so that's fine. He's playing by the rules, like you say. But I still feel that it's a terrible year, and I don't think this was, as a former Yankee fan, it's anywhere as exciting as any of the other pennants that they did win. I don't know how you feel about it, but outside of hearing...
Of course, you certainly have a right to your opinion. What I meant about baseball's banner year is so many franchises have such great years. I don't mean just the Yanks or the Dodgers, but I mean Minnesota's attendance was way up. Baltimore's attendance came within 10,000 of reaching their all-time high. The Red Sox went over 2 million in a ballpark that seated 34,000. The Chicago Cubs had a huge gain in attendance. The Phillies drew 2.5. The Cincinnati Reds drew 2.5 million. The Dodgers set an all-time record. The Yanks were over 2 million again. Seattle came into baseball and drew well over 1 million. Toronto almost drew 2 million people with an expansion team. Texas,
free agent.
Texas had their highest thing. By the way, about the free agents, you can only invest in a maximum of 2 free agents or as many as you lose.
Okay, but you have to admit that Steinbrenner, in my opinion, went after the best one in Jackson. I was one of the people that was saying that when he got him.
Great.
And I also thought that he went after the best pitcher in Gullit, and he tried to get Blue later on by buying him.
Yeah. I don't know what else he should do, though. I don't know if it'd be fair. It would be fair for him to be castigated for doing what the rules allow, and I don't think people really care about it. You know, I think people care about... See, baseball is part of show business, like all other sports. They compete for the entertainment dollar, and people want to be entertained. Yeah. I thought this year was very entertaining. Now, I also think that one of the reasons for it was that hitting has returned to baseball.
But what about the circus-like atmosphere you were complaining about? Now you...
Well, I wasn't complaining about it. I was just saying it's there. I don't take it seriously, so I think it's funny.
Yeah, but what I was pointing out is I think it's kind of phony for everybody to kind of get excited about this being... I think that Steinbrenner literally could buy his way, or any owner wanting to, with the new rules. Steinbrenner certainly took advantage of it. I don't blame him for that. But I'm saying that I think it's a shameful thing.
I'm sorry. You know what? Every fan has to be dictated by his or her own interests. And if you like it, you go to the games, you watch them on TV, you listen to the radio. If you're turned off by it, then baseball has lost a fan. All I was saying was, I said this to Bowie Kuhn on the air last night on our long post-game thing, that you know, you talk about all the other years, but if you're looking at fan interest, which after all is what it's all about, this was baseball's banner year. That's the only point I was making. I didn't mean that ephemerally or ethereally or esoterically it was baseball's banner year. That might be a very special year for you when maybe the Mets won, or maybe it was a year when Koufax was great, or whatever.
I think the Mets winning, though, was a little bit more exciting. Right. You have to admit that they really did build from within, or as you mentioned, trading.
Great. Okay.
I think that basically what I was saying, John, is that if I was a Baltimore Oriole fan or a Minnesota Twin fan, and I knew that my owner was, I would then want a trucking owner or a shipping owner.
The only thing is this, that Baltimore and Minnesota had a huge resurgence in attendance this year, so I guess the fans found it fun.
Don't you think they're a little...
Wait a minute. I'll tell you what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you, okay? The only way I get you off without being nasty, and I don't want to be nasty, I want to be a good guy. I want to be liked by like all the other sportscasters, so I'm going to be a good guy. I agree with you. Thank you, sir. It's 2 minutes before 8 o'clock at 489-1155, and speaking of Reggie Jackson, by hint and by dint. No, we have 2 minutes. Okay. After the 8 o'clock news, you will hear Reggie Jackson's third home run. If you want the biggest selection of designer frames from all over the world, you must see Dr. Roy Rintel at Manhattan Optical at 235 Canal in New York. You can see designer frames like Pierre Cardin, Yves Saint Laurent, Diane von Furstenberg. Remember, at Manhattan Optical, you always get professional consultation on their specialty contact lenses. Now through November 1st, you can get the Bausch & Lomb soft lens contacts for an amazing $149. and airflow hard lens contacts for only $99. Many of the world's greatest athletes get their contacts from Dr. Intel at Manhattan Optical, 235 Canal in New York. And here's another great special. It's a complete pair of glasses at only $13.95. Manhattan Optical is open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, Sunday 10 to 4. See them today for all your optical needs, or call Manhattan Optical at Canal 6 8050. That's Canal 6 8050. All major credit cards on it. No one beats the great Manhattan Optical for integrity and value.
Charter World means a winter vacation in the tropics. A quality vacation at a price you can afford. Starting December 23rd to April 22nd, Charter World has convenient Friday or Saturday departures, and that's every Friday or Saturday. Charter World includes round-trip air via Pan Am, your hotel, transfers, trip cancellation insurance, and more. Single save with guaranteed share at most hotels. Depending on date selected, you can enjoy exciting Santo Domingo for 8 days and 7 nights for as low as $299. Beautiful St. Lucia at the other club, Halcyon Days, from $389, or exclusive Latat from $499. Guatemala with incomparable sightseeing and fabulous shopping from $359. Rates quoted are per person. Charter World vacations are available only from travel agents, so call your travel agent today. At these prices, how can you afford to stay home? See Charter World's ad in Sunday's New York papers.
WMCA, Strauss Communications in New York.
Some Arkansas prisoners have commandeered a bus that was carrying them back to the Cummins Prison Farm in Pine Bluff. The only non-inmate on that bus, the driver, was put off and taken to a hospital. The news from the Commerce Department was mixed today. The gross national product expanded at less than the desirable 4% during the summer quarter. That's not strong enough to improve employment. But inflation during the summer was just 5.1%, down 2% from the spring quarter. Treasury Secretary Michael Blumenthal says the nation's economy is closely linked to energy. Blumenthal called for quick congressional action on energy.
That program now hangs in the balance. The world looks on, astonished, as we flirt with the possibility of doing nothing and taking the consequences. I can imagine no more dangerous course of action for our economy. Without a comprehensive energy program, we simply cannot chart a plausible cause for growth, investment, and inflation.
This is Comprehensive News from Mutual Radio. I'm John Hartshee.
489-1155 WMCA.
Hello, everybody. This is Alex Bennett. You know, the new kid on the block. Well, listen, I'll be here from 3 until 7 today, and among other things, our guest will be Francine Duplessis-Gray. She's a reporter and essayist, and she's written a book about lovers and tyrants. A little discussion here about feminism and other things. Not to mention traffic reports, talking with you, a little fun along the way, and, of course, Danny Meenan and his story of the day. Join me every day right here, 3 to 7, on WMCA Real People Radio in New York.
Well, wonders of all wonders. So Jackson has hit 2 home runs on consecutive pitches in the 4th and 5th. In the 4th off Bert Hooton, in the 5th off Elias Sosa. Remember, he homered in his last time at bat Sunday against Los Angeles. Then he walked on 4 pitches before Chambliss' home run in the 2nd inning. So Jackson, in his last at-bats, had homered, walked, homered. It came to bat in the last of the 8th inning with the Yankees leading 7-3 and knuckleballer Charlie Huff on the mound.
Jackson with 4 runs batted in and sends a fly ball to center field and deep. That's going to be way back, and that's going to be gone. Reggie Jackson has hit his 3rd home run of the game. Reggie Jackson becomes the 2nd man in World Series history to hit 3 home runs in a game. We told you earlier, Babe Ruth did it on 2 occasions, in 1926 and in 1928. And Jackson just crunched one over the center field wall. That must have been 440 feet or more away, and they want Jackson to come out and take a bow with the Yankees Yankees leading 8-3 in the 8th inning. And Reggie Jackson with 3 home runs and 5 RBIs, and there he is. Takes his hat off, waves his acknowledgement to the Yankee fans. Says thank you very much.
I don't want you to think this is a knock of the Dodgers fine announcer Ross Porter, who was doing the play-by-play last night. But let me tell you something. That was not a fly ball to center field. That was a rocket hit up and high, and he is so strong, that man. That little short, compact swing. It was a low outside knuckleball. Ball obviously didn't knuckle too much. Kind of sat there low outside, and he hit the ball just right of dead center. And if those of you know the stadium, know that area that's painted black as a background for the batters, there are exits about halfway back, and that ball went past the exits. I'm sure that if you, and I do want you to listen to Barry Gray. Barry is finally back. It's about time that guy got some employment. But I'm sure that if you missed the evening newscast and you tune in on the late night newscast on your favorite television station, I'm sure they'll replay that home run, because that home run will do nicely, sir. As the old line goes, you can cut up that home run and get a month full of singles. That was really a jolt. That really was a jolt. Okay, we're at area code 212-489-1155. Unless we forget, Friday night is the first New York... Excuse me, John. Friday night is the first New Jersey Net game of the year against the New Orleans Jazz with Pete Maravich and Chuck Robinson and Gail Stumpy Goodrich and company. And we will look for you at the Rutgers Athletic Center Friday evening. If not, we'll be on the air with it beginning at 7:55 along with Mike DiTomaso. And Saturday night, the Islanders and the New York Rangers at the Nassau Coliseum. And we will begin our heavy concentration, now the baseball is over, of basketball and hockey. We have, I don't know, by the end of the year we'll be doing probably 125 broadcasts of the Nets and Islanders. And you know, when the broadcasts are over, when hopefully the Nets are in the playoffs and when the Islanders will be in the playoffs, by the time we get to the playoff games, you know what's going to happen, don't you? You're going to hear the 1978 Yankees right here. It will all begin again. 489-1155 WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was watching the game last night. It was really an exciting game. And I was really wondering why nobody even mentioned why Paul Blair didn't come in the 9th inning to fill in for Reggie Jackson. That would have been the ultimate of all the things that happened to the Yankees this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, I would have, cracked me about, when he came out, seeing a helmet in the 9th inning when everyone was throwing things. It would be really funny to see Paul Blair come running in the field and replace Reggie Jackson all over again.
Yeah. That's a great point. It's a really good, smart, incisive, intellectual point. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John. How are you?
Ma'am. Good. How are you?
Okay, listen, I just want to ask a fast question. All this I'm so glad that the Yankees won, and my husband and I have felt like we suffered with them through this whole season. But, it seems that the controversies that started with the Yankees at the beginning of the season was because of the signing of those 2 free agents, Gullett and Reggie Jackson. But my 2 questions are this. One, why was most of their, turmoil or, their hatred directed at Reggie Jackson more than Don Gullett? Because he also was signed for...
Well, it has nothing to do with the signing.
Right.
It has to do with the kind of individuals. Reggie is a showman, a publicity seeker,
right,
a nonstop talker with the strong opinions, and actually none of that happened until an article broke in Sport Magazine where, see, Reggie talks and people listen. And unfortunately, people listen and write things down and take everything seriously. If he just regarded it as talk...
Does Reggie think of what he's saying before he says?
No, that's why he says something different every day. And so this article came out where Reggie, in effect, said that he was the leader and not Munson of the Yankees. He had just gotten with the team. How would he know he's the leader? I mean, people... See, for some reason, all people, listen to what athletes say like they were listening to the Prime Minister of England, and he was in his address he was declaring war. Right. But these guys are being quoted on things when they were just mouthing off, and these guys are nice guys and good players, but, you know, many guys would not exactly be holding down Secretary of State positions, right, in the government if they weren't playing ball. Understand?
Right.
Okay.
Now my other question is this. Now all these players are a lot of the players on the Yankee team are very upset because they feel that they should be getting more money.
Okay, wait, before you go on, let me say this. Another unbelievable mishap. By the way, I don't believe at times how naive the public is. I want to ask you a question, straightforward, you and me, okay, just two of us.
Right.
Do you kind of believe that the Yankees are money-hungry, roisterers, carousers, loudmouths, profane, angry group of rich bad guys, and you believe the Dodgers are sweet, young, virginal, good boys, white shoes, brush your teeth, drink milk? I mean, do you really believe that?
No, definitely not.
Of course not. They're all men. They all laugh. They all run. They're all the same. I mean, what has happened in baseball is what's happened in the other sports, and that is the freedom issues that began with the civil rights marches, and that's where it all began, and I think it's great.
So why
people, wait a minute. People want their freedom. In the old days, you were under contract to the first team that signed you in perpetuity. You could go nowhere. And unless you were a Joe DiMaggio talent, you know, you could, and even if you were, you couldn't go anywhere. It's all gone in all sports. All sports have struck for freedom clauses. All sports have unionized. Just like women and blacks and Chicanos and homosexuals, okay? It really is no different. And nowadays, if you're Reggie Jackson or Thurman Munson or Mike Torres, a good ball player like that, if the guy doesn't like what you're doing, you can tell him where to stick it. And that's what's happened. And the Yankees, you know, in the old days, guys are making $20,000, okay? Nowadays, you have guys playing for you on a 3-year contract to protect the fact they don't play out their option and leave you, who are making $100,000, $120,000. It's like your mom told you when you were a kid about chocolate ice cream.
Right.
Too much is going to spoil you. They're unhappier now making $120 than the guys were 15 years ago making $20.
See, this is just my point that I hope I express it properly. Now, if Steinbrenner is willing to sign a Reggie Jackson or a Don Gullit for so much money, shouldn't he be ready and able to pay his players that he already has and have played for him and have proven himself if they ask for that kind of money?
But it doesn't work that way, and neither does it in your job. People, you don't get paid because of your abilities. You get paid because of your ability to negotiate, or you're the power or the position from where you're negotiating. Jackson was a free agent. He took the gamble, damn it. He played without a contract. Suppose he had broken his leg, or ripped up his knee, or hit 200 with the Orioles. He didn't. See, he took the gamble. But other guys sat there and said, no, yeah, I'll sign a 3-year contract. Yeah, they wanted security. You know, you can't have it both ways in life. God doesn't allow that. And Jackson took the gamble. Don Gullit took the gamble. They tested themselves on the open market.
I see.
Understand?
Uh-huh.
And by the way, the other guys aren't starving either.
I wish I could be starving the way they're starving.
Yeah. That's another thing that amazes me, too, is the fans will call up who are worried about the happiness of some guy who's making $125,000 a year for 3 years. It boggles, and this guy who calls up is some poor schlub who lives in Huntington and gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning and travels an hour and a half to get in, and I tell you, I'm amazed. I tell you what, it's an amazing world. As long as you don't take it seriously, you're okay.
Well, okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
WMCA, John Sterling, hello.
Yes, hello, John. I'd like to premise my following statements on two facts. Firstly, that baseball is my favorite sport, and secondly, that I just love the World Series. But I've just returned from England. I've been living there for the past year, and I was getting into the cricket season and how it's conducted, wherein that it's conducted on two levels. Firstly, there are the national championships, and secondly, there are the international championships. And I was wondering.
This is one of those calls where you don't know anything about the subject and you're afraid the guy's going to tell you. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
No, I do love baseball, but I was just wondering if it was feasible for the baseball establishment to possibly begin exploring ways of making baseball truly competitive on the international level as well as our World Series.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, bringing competition from abroad representing national sides. And
after the World Series is over, yeah, that's an idea. After the World Series is over, take the Yankees and play them against the champion in Japan or the champion in wherever else they play baseball. I think probably someday that will happen. It won't happen for a long time.
No,
and
wait a minute. I mean the winner of the American championships. I was referring to all-star teams competing.
Well, I hate all-star teams, so I hope that never happens. Thank you. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Yeah, John, how you doing? I'm first-time caller from New Jersey. I wanted to ask you about what you think about Reggie Jackson, the fans sort of hating him and then turning around and liking him. And also, if you condone, you mentioned Bill Martin being a good manager, but how about the fact that he punched out a player in Minnesota and almost trotted, although he would have got his head handed to him by Jackson here in New York? Do you think that is grounds for dismissal by the owners of the other club? Hello?
No, I didn't understand your question. Obviously, in Minnesota, he punched out Dave Boswell when they got into a fight outside of a bar.
Yeah.
And then Boswell and Martin kissed and made up, and Boswell went on to pitch very well the rest of the season and helped Billy win the Western Division pennant. Then he was fired because of arguments with the owner of the Twins. Calvin Griffith runs that ball club. He can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have fired Martin because Martin won for me, and Martin brought in a lot of people, and I think Martin's a great manager. What people seem to forget is you're not exactly talking about the Cardinals in the Roman Catholic Church in this country. You're talking about ball players. I mean, does that behavior offend you? Doesn't me. See, I don't care.
Well, see, I was wondering if, well, first of all, I believe I listened to you, and you said that you thought that signing Jackson was a mistake. You did say that earlier in your shows.
Yes.
Now,
during the season, when the Yanks had grave problems, and I said about Gamble and Piniella. Yeah, Gamble had 31 home runs this year. Jackson had 32. What's the point? Ask me what you're asking me.
My point.
Yeah, boy. Now get to it. Give it to me with both guns.
All right, fine. My point is that I don't mean to say you, although you might fall in this category. People are definitely two-faced about Reggie Jackson.
Of course they are. So what? He's an entertainer.
What do you mean he's an entertainer?
He's an entertainer. When he strikes out, they boo. When he hits a home run, they cheer. So what? What's new?
You think that...
yes, I think that's perfectly okay.
That's a question for you.
Oh.
That's all I want to know.
What was your question?
Pardon?
What was your question?
Do you think that signing Reggie Jackson this year, as you said, was a mistake or not?
I don't know. I won't answer that question because you're asking me after he hits 3 home runs to win the World Series. If you asked me in May, when things are going badly, I would have said yes. Now, of course, I wouldn't say yes. And I'll tell you what I think about you, sir. I think you're a jerk, and I think you're calling up to give me...
I'm not a homer like you.
What does a homer have to do with it? I'm not a homer. Matter of fact, I said the Yankees are going to have problems winning the pennant this year. I said the Red Sox give them a fight all the way down the line. Well, that's not being a homer.
You don't like the free agent, and then you say...
give it a rest, will you, creep? WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about Ray Williams and the Knicks.
Yes.
Ray Williams is a great ball player. I think he's one of these guys who plays the top. He can play defense. He's like Dean Meminger. He's just bigger and stronger. Also, I think the Knicks, they got a couple of really good young players. They got Gonzaga.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
You think you're judging a little too quickly?
No.
You're a typical New York fan.
No, I'm not
You're a typical New York fan.
No,
you think you're judging a little... I've heard great things about Ray Williams, too. You think you're judging a little quickly? He's now played one pro game. You're calling him a great...
I saw him play in the summer, in these summer leagues, playing against these really good players. See, the thing is with Ray Williams, he's not an offensive player, really. He's a defensive player who plays a good, tough game.
I've heard very good things about him, and I believe the Knicks believe, too, that he's going to have a fine pro career, and we're going to watch it with rapt interest. I think we'll let it go at that, right?
Possibly. But like I said, I've seen enough players, all through these years. They got rid of Frazier. They expect this guy to really be, a tremendous player. And, we'll see. Also, I saw the Nets play yesterday on TV against
Ken Lockery's a really good coach. He went to those zone presses at the end of the game, and he was really down. That could be a good team. To play good for him.
Well, we hope so. Thank you, sir. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hi, John. I think the greatest thing about the World Series was that the Yankees won, and the second greatest thing is the show that you and Mel Allen did.
Oh, that's nice.
Absolutely fantastic. And that's what my call is about. I would like to have your opinion of the announcers on TV and the radio. I don't know if you had a chance to hear them or not.
No, I didn't. I was at the games all the time. I never heard the announcers.
I was kind of disappointed. I was wondering what happened to Phil Rizzuto.
I could tell you some things. I don't think I'm going to talk about my career.
I saw Bill White on ABC, and Frank Messer did a warm-up on Channel 11, but I didn't see Phil Rizzuto at all. I didn't hear him or anything, and I thought the announcers on the radio weren't.
No, I could tell you, but I went through it before, and I really don't want to go through it again. I feel kind of funny doing it. ABC did not use the announcers. When they used Porter or White, they used them just in their pregame.
So they used Porter on the radio.
Well, wait a minute now. Now we're getting to something different, all right?
Yeah.
Now, CBS Radio did use, they used the home team announcer doing away games. So they offered that to Scully, who turned it down because he wanted to do all the games.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, his agent turned it down.
Yeah,
and so they used Ross Porter to do the games that began in Yankee Stadium. Now, then they used Bill White to do the games on radio from Dodger Stadium, okay? And those were the people that were used.
I see. Well, at least your show was good.
Good. Thank you, sir. 489-1155, your calls. We'll get back right after this.
The Citizens Commission on Human Rights is investigating psychiatric abuses at state and private mental health facilities. If you or someone you know has information that may be of assistance in this probe, a phone call is all that is needed. Dial 212-874-1740.
WMCA, Real People Radio.
Yeah, hold on a second. Would you take care of this, please? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can give me that note. No, you can give me the note. It's okay. Right. Well, I don't understand. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what you do. I don't understand. I guess that happened. And I'll take care of this, and I'll take care of that in just a minute, okay? It's 21 minutes after 8 and 489-1155. Please don't forget about Dr. Roy Rintel's Manhattan Optical down at 235 Canal, downtown New York. It's probably the biggest optical shop you'll ever be in, and it has every single thing you'll need. We had advertised about the Bausch & Lomb soft lens contacts, and I think they were selling for $200 or $250, and we said that's about half of what you'd pay anywhere else. Well, right now, Dr. Roy Rintel has a special on the Bausch & Lomb soft lens contacts, an amazingly low price of only $149. If you use the hard lens contacts, the Airflow hard lens contacts now selling for only $99. Whatever else you want, eyeglasses, sunglasses, the very best of designer frames. Okay. Canal 6 8050, area code 212, Canal 6 8050. Manhattan Optical down at 235 Canal, open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6 and Sunday from 10 to 4. 489-1155, your phone calls. And WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Oh, good evening. About the World Series, there's had a lot of dramatics and spectacular and all, but there's one World Series game that I saw that involved the Yanks too, which was far more dramatic, in my opinion. That was the time in 1926 when Alexander came in and Antonio Zeri with the bases full. And then in the ninth inning, Babe Ruth tried to steal second base, and he was thrown out. That ended the series. I think that surpassed this World Series, which was great. I wonder what some of the old-timers would think about it.
Right. All right, thank you, sir. We're going to get back at 23 minutes after 8, right after this. Last year's NFC Championship game is replayed this Monday night when WMCA's Monday night NFL Game of the Week has the Minnesota Vikings playing at the Coliseum in Los Angeles against the Rams. These two bitter rivals should play a tremendous game on the Coliseum floor this coming Monday night. Hear the action right here at WMCA beginning at 8:45 p.m.
Four on the shot clock now. Outside Julius. Penetrates. Right side. Stops for the jumper. It's bullseye!
The Nets have made changes. In fact, this year they've even changed their jerseys. Now they're the New Jersey Nets. And that's just one small change. The other changes include the new Tennessee All-American forward of the Nets, Bernard King, the high-flying Dr. Dunk, Darnell Hillman, and the shot-blocking center, George Johnson. Hi, this is John Sterling. Join Mike DiTomaso and me for all the New Jersey Nets action right here at WMCA all year long, beginning Friday, October 21st.
Pitch the nine-hitter, stretches, deals. Bunt, popped up. Torres has got it, and the Yankees are the world champions for the 21st time, and for the first time in 15 years.
We never doubted they could do it, and now the whole world knows that our own New York Yankees are the world's greatest. WMCA and New York thanks George Steinbrenner and all the Yankees for bringing the trophy back where it belongs.
489-1155, WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
John?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I've been waiting for a while. That's why I wasn't sure if it was you. Now, I'd like to get back to what a woman was saying before about the news media and the Yankees, since I'm a Yankee fan. Now, I'm happy the Yankees won the World Series and everything, but like before it was over, I pick up the newspaper and I read, the Yankees aren't going to play tonight because they didn't get good tickets. I don't think I'm a jerk or anything, but how did they get away with it?
Who?
Like, the news media, the reporters. Like, if I'm Billy Martin, I allow these reporters still to interview my men?
Right.
After making nonsense comments, or is it really true?
It's really true.
Guys,
players,
$200,000 a year.
Players really say those things, yes. The news media does not make up those stories.
That's all I really wanted to ask.
Yeah, that's all really true. Everything that comes out is true, is said, and although people deny they've said it, we know it isn't true. We know that.
It's tough being a Yankee fan and, seeing Reggie Jackson at 3 home runs and Darwin Munson being a great ball player and everything as he is.
See, I think it's all fun. I think
that's what I think. Do you think they exaggerate just a little bit?
I think the players say outrageous things, and the writers,
when they read it in the paper?
The writers write them, and the words come out stronger in print than they do in person. You said things.
It's headline. They make it headlines.
Why is this man yelling at me? Oh, well, you're reading them, aren't you? That's why they make them headlines.
I guess so.
Do you ever say anything outrageous? Do you ever say anything outrageous?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So what? But, if it was printed and put in the newspaper, if he does that again, I'll kill him. How would that read?
I guess so. I'm not at the level than a Thurman Munson.
And I'll tell you one more thing, too. See, Thurman Munson is in a position, as is Reggie and Torres and Guidry, and they can do anything they want. They can say anything they want.
Yeah.
It's the age of freedom. What do you think would happen if Steinbrenner would say, I'm so mad at that Munson for saying those things, I'm going to fire him, as would happen with other people in other positions. He fires Munson. You think Thurman's going to get a job? Yeah, I think so, too.
No problem.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello, John?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to talk to you about the senior Yankee of the team, Roy White.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that he should have had a chance to play in the World Series.
No. I love Roy. I think he's a great player, and I think he's a terrific guy. It doesn't work that way.
No, because...
It doesn't, no. Don't say no to me. It doesn't work that way.
Well, wait a second.
You're talking about sentiment. Billy Martin and any other manager plays the guys who he thinks can win. Now, you may disagree with that. That's okay. But don't tell me that Martin or any other manager should play someone because of sentiment, because you're wrong.
All right, but what about those catches that Pinella messed up in the outfield?
Well, that's different. No, now you're arguing about Martin's choice. Yeah, that's okay. You can do that. That's fine.
Yeah, but...
If you think, yeah, but... I want to ask you a question. Oh, I mean, why am I going to pursue this with this jerk? I mean, yeah, that's what I thought. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
John, about this great Yankee team, as far as I'm concerned, Steinbrenner put a gold mine in Martin's hands. They should have won by 10 games in the East, and as far as I'm concerned, they should have swept Kansas City by 3 games.
Really? You don't think much of Boston, then, do you?
No, not really, not compared to this Yankee team.
Of course.
This is a great Yankee team. Steinbrenner put a gold mine in his hand.
You just said that before. You're repeating yourself.
Okay, and Jimmy...
I disagree with you.
Well, Jimmy Dykes would call it a push button.
I know. I disagree with you.
Well, it's your privilege.
Well, don't forget, I mean, he was push button, but he didn't have a pitching staff for half the year.
If it wasn't for their shenanigans and their horsing around, they would have won by 10 games. And anyway, the 69 Mets was more dramatic than this thing. Don't forget, at the beginning of the season, they were 100-1 that they wouldn't win the World Series. Does everybody forget about the 69 Mets? I mean, with a manager like the late Gil Hodges.
It was 8 years ago.
Well...
It was 9 years ago.
Sure. Well,
of course they forget about it. Of course they forget about it. I mean, the exultation is now. It isn't 9 years ago.
Well, I'm not going to take away what Reggie Jackson did was an incomparable feat.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? I mean, who's comparing the two?
Well, I'm just saying...
I mean, I remember the Yankees coming from behind in '58. I was really overjoyed then. Who cares? What point are you making?
The point I'm making is that...
If you want to knock Martin, knock him. That's
I'm not
silly.
knocking him. I'm just...
You are knocking him.
Saying...
And as far as winning Kansas City in 3 straight, that doesn't even mean anything. Because we know that Seattle or Toronto could have won the American League Championships 3 out of 5. You're only playing 5 games. All you have to do is win 3 of them.
What was it? The game is absolutely without discipline today, John?
Yes.
It's absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, the days of Landis are gone and everything.
Are gone. Absolutely.
You have to listen to a bunch of crybabies.
Right. Or not bother. Or not listen.
Well, you say Munson could get another job. How many
tomorrow
could he keep going, bouncing from to Cleveland to Detroit?
As long as he hits 300 and drives in 100 runs and handles pitches, he can get a job whatever he wants at whatever money he wants.
They're going to listen to his whining every club.
Absolutely.
Okay, John. Okay,
thank you, sir. 8:30 at WMCA, Strauss Communications in New York, Real People Radio, and we'll get back right after the late Mutual Sports, so stay tuned.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Gregson for Mutual Sports. George Steinbrenner himself couldn't have written a final script any better. Reggie Jackson making Billy Martin's day. Billy Martin's day began with a $50,000 bonus, a new car, and the security that, after nearly being fired 3 times this season by Steinbrenner, his contract is still good for 2 more years. It ended with his most vocal antagonist of this long and agonizing season, Jackson, slamming a record-tying 3 homers and driving in 5 runs to provide Martin and the New York Yankees with an 8-4 victory. And what about Reggie? Well, he doesn't speak softly, but still carries a big stick. What about that last blast, Reggie?
Charlie Huff threw me a ball down and right in my power and out over the plate, and just had a good swing at it, and bingo. I couldn't believe it, and I didn't really realize until I was crossing home plate when I broke out with a smile that I had hit 3 home runs.
While a lot of the Yankees still have axes to grind, manager Billy Martin says his tomahawk is buried.
I think winning makes you forget all the other things. Once you won it all, everything is history. And I like to leave it that way because I think this is the beginning of a long streak for us.
The Yankees acted, well, kind of like little boys all season with their bickering and backstabbing, but Reggie says they've grown up.
It showed what kind of men we were and what kind of human beings we were. The whole Yankee team, the Yankee organization, Billy Martin, Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson, the players that were constantly in the heat of the battle. And I think it shows what kind of men we were.
You are listening to Mutual Sports.
Think you'd like to cook with a microwave?
Not really.
Even if you could save $50 on a Kenmore microwave on sale for $379.95?
That's nice.
Wouldn't you like to make scrumptious desserts like crunchy pecan pies?
Crunchy?
Or melt cheese in a minute?
Sure.
Bake a potato in 4?
Yeah.
Variable power and temperature probe help do that and more. Now how about saving $50 on a Kenmore microwave?
How long do I have?
Till October 29th. Available in most Sears retail stores. Kenmore, solid as Sears.
All right, you VH over there, hold it down. Winter's coming. This is serious. Go
Hello, car engines. Our owners don't want we should freeze up? You tell them you want a fresh fill of peak antifreeze and coolant. Nothing beats Peak at helping to protect our vital parts against the cold. Tell them you want Peak antifreeze and coolant. Otherwise, it's liable to be a long, cold winter.
Your car's engine good, that's for a better antifreeze.
Over in the losing Los Angeles' locker room, Dodger manager Tommy Lasorda was stoic. He didn't blame the big Dodger in the sky.
Well, it's tough to lose in the World Series, but I'm proud of my team. They battled at all times. They never quit. They exemplified true Dodgers on and off the field at all times in the series. Everybody commented to me on the class players that we have on this ball club. We lost to a great ball club. They played a tremendous series, and I don't want my players to ever feel like they let themselves down. They played hard, and I want them to always keep their head up high because I'm proud of what they have done in 1977.
Although the Dodgers lost the World Series, Tommy Lasorda, their manager, undoubtedly will be rewarded with a more lucrative contract for the 1978 season within just a few weeks' time. That's the Dodgers front office way of doing things. He's been working for $55,000 a year. So it's good luck to Tommy and the Dodgers. Congratulations to the Yanks. You are listening to Mutual Sports.
In the beginning, there was Mother. That worked out so well, man then created mother-in-law. Sometimes that didn't work out. So it was decided to make Sunday, October 23rd, a day to demonstrate respect and love for mother-in-laws. We call this special day Mother-in-Law's Day. Yes, Sunday, October 23rd. Show your mother-in-law what you think of her. Let her know how you appreciate her with a lovely bouquet of flowers from your FTD florist. Bring her the FTD Forget-Me-Not bouquet. Or your FTD florist can also wire a beautiful flower arrangement almost anywhere in time for her day. A day you should not forget. Mother-in-Law's Day, Sunday, October 23rd.
I'm Jack Gregson for Mutual. This is your network for news and sports.
489 1155 WMCA.
We're back at area code 212-489-1155. Getting a lot of strange calls tonight. WMCA, John Sterling. Hello.
Hello. I'd like to know where this new tradition of ball players coming out now and taking these curtain calls after they hit home runs, how it started and where it started, and
very enthusiastic.
Bush League.
You know, I'll tell you why I love people like you. Because you're a knocker. You're one of those negative guys.
No.
What do you mean, no?
Takes away
What do you mean, no?
Baseball.
Where did it begin? Where did it begin? I'll tell you where it began. It began with fans enthusiastically applauding their heroes. It began with this link between player and fan through radio and television, newspapers, this tremendous media coverage. And now it's over. This guy, and it burst into prominence. It's happened many times before, but it burst into prominence during Mark Fidry's great year 2 years ago in Detroit, when they wouldn't stop clapping until he came back. The fans call for the person to come back, and you object to that. Isn't it interesting?
No, I don't object to the fans showing a tribute to the player, but I'd like to go back to something like Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, where just the
different era,
just the tip of the hat acknowledge.
I know, it's a different era. People are much more involved today than they were then. They know much more about the athletes. They're covered by the media much more completely. And I have to ask you one question before I let you go. If the fans request the guy to come back, which they do all the time. Saw it in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, New York?
Well, it happened in Los Angeles after, I think, one home run.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Here's a silly conversation. Because what you ought to do then when you go to the game is not applaud. And maybe if enough people follow suit like you,
Did you
they
watch
won't.
the game on TV?
Don't like that person. Now it's time to, thank you, to bring in the guest who talked about before. Al Locasale is one of the top player personnel men in football, and you've seen the results of it with the Oakland Raiders as they have one great year after another. And Al, it's a pleasure to welcome you here. The odd thing is that we have you on the program for the first time and in a week after the Oakland Raiders have actually lost a ball game.
Well, I hope we don't lose many more. You know, we don't lose too many more than one or two a year, and it's a tradition that we want to maintain.
Now, I don't really know where to begin. Maybe we ought to begin at last week. You lost, surprisingly, 30-7 to Denver at your own ballpark. Did the Raiders play a very poor game, or is Denver that good a ball club?
Denver is an excellent football team, and really have been in recent years. They just, in 1976, they were 9-5, lost a couple of tight ball games to us, and which kept them out of the playoffs. Other than that, people would realize how good a football team they were. They have had the obstacle of being in the same division with us. They've had winning or 500 seasons the last couple of years. They've had the benefit of good drafts, some good trades, and a minimum number of injuries. And this year they have stayed extremely healthy, which has helped them a great deal. Now they've got solid people who've played together a couple of years, and they've got them all.
Well, we can go from in many areas, but the Broncos have made two significant changes. The interesting part of it is, of course, you haven't heard this in Oakland because you win all the time, but the significant in every other NFL city, or most of the NFL cities, they hear about these things all the time. And obviously, you're not a novice in football, and you've been with other teams in Oakland, so you've heard this from time to time. But Denver made two significant changes in the two areas that fans are always writing about and calling up about and cheering or booing about, and that is quarterback and coach. They've added Craig Morton from the Giants, who was just absolutely booed out of town, and Red Miller, who was an offensive coach with the New England Patriots, and Denver's an organization that's never been in the playoffs since they were formed in 1960, and they've had quite a few coaches. The last one was their most successful, John Ralston, but the fans wanted Ralston out too. Now, has the quarterback and coach made that much of a difference in their team?
Well, I think they've been contributing factors. And I think, too, that one of the big factors is the players apparently went to management and said, we're good enough to be a playoff team, and we don't think we're getting what we need out of the coach. And now that puts a great onus on the squad to prove that they were right. And I think that that's been a motivating factor. Then in the case of Morton, they had some pretty good seasons with Charlie Johnson, and they didn't yet have the complete cast. Then when they lost Johnson, they had some inexperienced quarterbacks or people that really had no big game experience, but seemed to have the cast. Now they added the quarterback. And a guy like Craig Morton, like most quarterbacks, is going to look better driving a Cadillac than a Jeep.
Right.
And his particular skills are best with the kind of talent he has. They have excellent running game. Otis Armstrong's a 1,000-yard back. They have top speed wide receivers, extremely good receivers coming out of the backfield, and an outstanding tight end in Riley Odoms. But they have a defense that'll get them field position. They don't have to generate 80-yard marches. I don't know if they, against us, if they took the ball more than 40 or 50 any time. So that they just need to put a few things together, and they're awful close to the end zone.
Well, it really is interesting. I've been arguing on this program about quarterbacks because it's always a quarterback who people are calling up about, and including Morton when he was with the Giants, but there have been many others. And Morton is not very quick. In fact, he's slow. And last year with the Giants, boy, he was subjected to an enormous pass rush, and the Giants didn't protect him well, and they didn't have great outside speed. And I guess that Morton probably looked as bad this year as he's looking good with Denver because, as you say, about the cast that he has surrounding him. But are there any changes in the way Oakland has executed? We saw their first game or two. We saw the Pittsburgh game where they really gave the Steelers quite a beating in Three Rivers Stadium.
Yeah, we've had a couple of significant injuries that took place in the Pittsburgh game and a couple later that have altered our cast some, but you know, other people are quality people and just have to take up for it. We lost Phil Villapiano for the year, a linebacker, our outside linebacker on the left side in the game against Pittsburgh. Phil is from back here. In fact, his dad was athletic director at Asbury Park High School. And Phil is missed on the field because he's one of those guys that you put down in the lineup without even thinking about it. He started 86 consecutive games for us at left linebacker, every one from the first day as a rookie. But he's also a very combative kind of person, a guy who is an enthusiastic hitter, who gets the rest of the team excited and fired up and makes some big plays and gets out there and kicks butts and swacks people on the side of the helmet and fires everybody up. And those kind of people are, you know, combative leaders, are tough to replace. But Floyd Rice has stepped in there and is doing a credible job. But our defensive people, you know, have to adjust to having someone in there after having someone else in that spot for 8 years that you knew exactly what he was going to do. Then on the offense, we lost John Vella, our starting right tackle, in the Pittsburgh game. John will not play against the Jets Sunday, but hopefully will be able to practice a little this week and may be able to participate the following week. Henry Lawrence is playing behind him, and again doing a credible job, which we expect from Henry. He was a top draft choice of ours a couple of years ago. But Henry lacks the experience that John has, and missed most of last year himself, having broken a leg in a preseason game right here against the Jets. Then Jack Tatum, our free safety, who is probably as good a hitter as there is in any secondary in the National Football League, hasn't played since the Pittsburgh game either. And again, we take out one of the real combative people. And, you know, we still don't let anybody run through that secondary with reckless abandon. But, you know, we've lost some guys that will really hit people and are very aggressive in the way they play and who fire the rest of the defense up. Tatum did not suit up last week at all. He's been one of our 2 deactivated players. But he's listed as a probable now, and we're hopeful that he will be able to play a considerable part of the ball game this week. We'll know more when we practice back here Saturday and see how he comes off of the long trip back.
Well, you know, last year Oakland had a tremendous amount of injuries at the very beginning of the year in their defensive line. I'm really telling the fans. I know you know this. And they went to the 3-4. In fact, Sports Illustrated just did an article on it.
Yeah, we went to the 3-4 for 2 reasons. One was the injuries. The other was our own personnel. That is, you can put it up on the blackboard, but if you don't have the 4th linebacker, you better keep looking for linemen. And in our case, we had available Willie Hall. When we looked at our personnel situation and said, let's get the best 11 guys in there and see where we can play them, Willie had to be in the ball game. He's just too good a football player. That was the other half of why we went to the 3-4, because we had the 4th linebacker of quality and ability.
Well, and it really worked out for you, and although I don't know what changes have taken place lately, you're now a 3-4 team.
Yeah, although we had been playing the 3-4 about 25 to 30% of the time, and had actually gone back in 1965 in a game against the New York Jets when Al Davis was the coach of the Raiders. The Raiders played the 3-4 almost the entire ball game against the Jets, so it was not something that wasn't a part of our plan, but now it is the base from which all the rest of our defensive adjustments stem.
Now, Oakland has a tremendous team, and even though they hadn't won the Super Bowl before, some people who don't know the game thought that, well, of course, that was the end, the successful end of the season. It is, but Oakland's had a tremendous team for, I don't know, how many, is it 11 years, 12 years now, whatever?
12 winning seasons in a row, and we are Pro Football's winningest team, taken from, we use 3 measurements. 1 from the time the franchise started in 1960. 2 from the time Al Davis came up from San Diego to take over the operation in 1963, following a 1-13 season in 1962. And then from the year we first got in the playoffs in 1967. And as the periods get shorter, our margin over the our next closest rivals gets longer and longer.
Okay, now, I not only have liked Oakland as a team, I really have liked them, but I like the way they play. Also, I'm left-handed, and I love left-handed, so Stabler has to be my favorite quarterback. But why Oakland and Dallas and Minnesota and a few other teams, why every year are they successful? Or why are they drafting these young players who fit in so well in their system? And why are there other teams? And frankly, you can look right here in New York at the Jets and the Giants and other teams as well, the Saints, the Falcons. So why are they poor every year?
Oh, I can't really speak for other people's situation. I can just tell you the things that we believe in and the things that I personally believe in. I think that organization, my academic background is in architecture, but I think building a football organization is totally different than building a building. You build a building from the basement up. You build a football organization from the top down. And in our case, we start with Al Davis, a man who really is an outstanding football man. I can't think of any. Now that Paul Brown has retired, I would say Paul Brown and people like Al who were excellent coaches, excellent recruiters, very capable administrators, great personnel people, that is, who have every phase of the football end of the business is something that they have been successful in. And they are very intense people who are always available, always involved. I know Al takes a position as his job to deliver to John Madden the tools that John needs to win with. And then it's John's job to coach those people, develop a football system that John is comfortable with and that fits our material, and to let Al know what it is he feels he needs in the way of help on the football field. I think one of the strengths of the way we do it, Al is such a capable, knowledgeable football personnel person that spends a lot of time studying and anticipating what's going to happen a year or two from now. For instance, a couple of years ago, we drafted Neil Colsey and Charles Phillips as our first two picks, and they were defensive backs at a time when we really didn't need defensive backs. And they were much bigger than most of our defensive backs. Phillips is 6'2½", about 210, and Colsey 6'1 3/4", about 200, because it was Al's feeling and our research that the running game was going to play a more prominent part in the game, that with more zone, people were going to use bigger receivers, and that what you needed were some people in the secondary that were no longer those skinny 165-pound cornerbacks like Nehemiah Wilson, who played well for us for a number of years, but guys who could come up and support or go back and cover bigger, stronger receivers. So we try and anticipate the trends of the game and draft looking ahead to what we're going to need to meet the game as the game changes. And the game changes. The linebacker play is changing now. Defensive line play is changing. And we try and anticipate the trends and be prepared for them.
Are you mildly disturbed at a trend that I see this year? I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, please say so. But the scores seem to be going down again after a couple of years where it seemed that the offense was able to open up football. And of course, you're talking to a guy who likes the offensive side of it. I thought the quote-unquote old days of the bomb and the bump and run and the one-on-one defense were better than let's say, the late 60s, early 70s, where it was zone and some of the most boring Super Bowls of all time. But anyway, is there a trend where the defense has again caught up with the offense and the scores are going down?
I think the defenses have not so much caught up as there are a lot of new things being done on defense that the offenses are having trouble catching up to. That's one. And I think that the college game of football has changed to a variety of running games, with the exception of the BYUs and people like that. They're not throwing the ball nearly as well as they did. And we have to work with people who come in out of that background. And it takes time to turn those people around to the kind of style of pro football that, most pro football fans are accustomed to. But again, I think that, this kind of runs in cycles. I think we'll see the scores beginning to mount. In fact, they're beginning to mount the last couple of weeks as the offensive coaches get a lot of that film and begin to see different ways of attacking the defensive adjustments. For instance, the 3-4 is a plus when you come in to play someone who hasn't seen it and has just 1 week to get ready for it and adjust it. Now, this case, for instance, the Jets saw it last week against Miami, and now have a film of what they did and thoughts on what they would do differently against it the next time. Now we come in here, they play the 3-4 again, and next week they play New England. Now all those 3-4s are played a little differently, but when they go against New England, they'll be going against their third 3-4 team in a row, and will be more comfortable playing against that defense. Same as when we put the 3-4 in at the beginning of last season, people scored on us. You know, our offense had a great strain. At the end of 8 games, we were 7-1 and had been outscored.
Yes.
Because the one we lost big, and the others we were squeaking through. But after the Chicago game, we had developed an ability to play that defense and began to add things to it each week. Our people became comfortable and confident in it. It wasn't something that was a filler for us now because of injuries. It was our system, and we enlarged the system and got better at playing it. So that I think that that's going on now. People are going to have to find better ways of attacking new defenses. Once they do, then it's up to the defensive coaches to find something else again.
Well, this Sunday you're in town right now, and in advance of your team, and you're in town to play the Jets at Shea, and for those who don't either have good memories or weren't football fans then, during the great AFL days, now they seem really great. The Raiders and the Jets had some of the most storied, rough, tough, bruising, high-scoring games. The best game I ever saw was the Oakland Jets AFC Championship game when the Jets beat you in the closing seconds and the Charlie Smith fumble on the lateral, right. And I thought that was maybe the best pro football game I've ever seen, and I saw the Giant Colt overtime game. But then they had the Heidi game and the game where Davidson allegedly broke Namath's jaw, whatever. But the Raiders and the Jets have had...
Davidson who did it, but...
It wasn't Davidson who did it. It was someone else.
It was Ike Lassiter who moaned and groaned for years that he was not a high-paid ball player. One of the reasons was that he hadn't gotten the notoriety that Ben got out of that particular incident. But
I'll never forget, I was at a friend's home. I was working in Baltimore then, Al, and I came up for the weekend, and Sunday afternoon we were sitting around maybe having a couple of drinks and some hors d'oeuvres before dinner and watching the game, and we watched the Jet-Oakland game, and all of a sudden NBC took it off, and I'll never forget that, and I think people who witnessed the Heidi game will never. And, of course, Oakland scored 2 touchdowns in about 30 seconds and wound up winning the game. It was even more salt in the wounds of Jet fans. Anyway, I know you've seen the film, certainly. The Jets have been a very, very pleasant surprise. I don't care what their record is this year. Walt Michaels has given them organization, and they were down 21-0 to Miami last week, and they battled back, and they had the ball with seconds remaining, and they wound up losing 21-17. And even though I don't think the Jets will beat you, I think you're going to have a very rough, tough game Sunday.
Yeah, we were impressed by the fact that they're a more physical football team than they've been in years, much more enthusiastic, much more competitive as far as getting after people, and they have some big play capability. You look at Todd's comparative stats from this stage last year, you know, when he was throwing 40%, now he's throwing 56%. He's cut his interceptions down in the same period of time from 12 to 6. He has a good feeling for reading defense. He's loose out there, and they've got, you know, some excellent receivers, both deep and long, deep and short, and on defense, they're hitting people. And, you know, we're going to come out here at the end of a 2,500-mile trip, and we're going to have to screw our helmets on tight.
Well, I think it will be that kind of a game. When you go up against a young defense, I'm not just talking about the Jets now, but the Jets are a very young team. Do you feel that you can hurt them more passing the ball because they may not be in the right coverages, or do all pro football teams like to establish themselves on the ground first before throwing?
I think that the people who want to establish themselves the most on the ground are your offensive linemen. Pass protection is a war, and it's just not easy under any circumstances. But until you remind the people across from you that you have the ability to bend them back with a running game, they're going to come rushing with abandon. And I think it's the lineman who will say to the quarterback early in the ball game, run the thing, let's just run it straight ahead and move these people. and let them know we can do it so that we can take the pressure off the pass rush. So really, I think most of the time it's the offensive linemen who say, let's run the ball till we get that going, then we can do whatever it is we want to have to try and do.
Well, Al, just one more question, I'll let you go. I thank you for this long interview, too. It's been fun listening to you. In a way, it's kind of a silly question because you really don't know the answer to this. If you did, we'd have to, you'd be worth millions of dollars. But is there any worry, let's put it this way, is there any worry among Oakland that maybe you won't catch Denver? They don't have a one-game lead, but...
Well, you know, there's 9 games left, and you hate to use the cliches, but you got to play them one at a time, and this is the only game we can think about now. Now, you know, obviously we would have liked to see Cincinnati stay whole Monday night because they play Denver this week, but, you know, eventually it's going to get down to us and them battling it out, San Diego, and if we win all the rest of them, we know where we're going to end up. We'll be in the playoffs. Okay. So that's got to be our goal. Just take the one ahead of you and win it, and give it your best shot, and then the next one comes up the following week. That's when you begin to worry about it.
Al, it was a pleasure talking to you. It really was. I'm glad we finally had a chance to talk or meet at least over the phone. I thank you for your time.
Okay, John.
Righto.
Thank you.
Al Locasale, the player personnel director of the Oakland Raiders, wasn't that great? He's one of the reasons why they're so successful. There are others, but he's certainly one of the reasons. We have a little business to take care of, right? I might tell you I haven't eaten today, which might spur you to think that I am thinking about le galant. Oui. I might be able to perhaps have maybe a pop or two at the bar from Manolo, the man with the magnificent bartending habits, and might sit down and have maybe the escargot with that garlic butter sauce and pour the white wine and dip into Maurice's great salad and perhaps have that chicken cordon bleu, the chicken with the ham and the cheese, and the Anna potatoes, and maybe a little bit of Maurice's cheesecake, and boy, it's so good. They're open Monday through Friday for lunch and Monday through Saturday for dinner. Their phone number for reservations, Jetson 27989 at 109 West 46th Street, Le Galant.
Pitched a 9-hitter, stretches, deals. Bunt, popped up. Torres has got it, and the Yankees are the world champions for the 21st time, and for the first time in 15 years.
We never doubted they could do it, and now the whole world knows that our own New York Yankees are the world's greatest. WMCA and New York thanks George Steinbrenner and all the Yankees for bringing the trophy back where it belongs.
Well, we have the news at 9, then we'll get back in just 5 minutes with a little bit more till 10 o'clock. Barry Gray will be on tonight. I don't know what Barry is doing, but I do know that Barry is finally here. He has been World Series'd out. And we'll tell you later on what Barry's going to do. Right now, I'll tell you it's 9 o'clock at WMCA Strauss Communications in New York.
Fast to measure, raising...